Hello! So today I'm doing a video to show you some of the stuff that I talked about in my last blog post. So we talked about some different levels of discrimination learning: oral, verbal association, and partial synthesis. And I'm going to show you what those might look like in actual music activities today. I know I tried to explain it with words, but sometimes it's just easier to see it. So I wanted to make this as easy as possible. Music learning theory really isn't that difficult. I think it's just, I don't know, at least for me, I'm a visual person. I like to see things. So let's get started. Today I'm going to break it down. We'll do some rhythm stuff, then we'll do some tonal stuff, and then stay tuned because we'll go into those other levels, the ones that deal with music notation, later. But the reason that I wanted to do this first is because this is kind of that foundation, so that they understand things in their brain. They understand those musical concepts. That way when they see it, it connects with something they already know in their brain. It's not just notes with no real meaning. It connects. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to do the song Engine number 9, and you can just do it with really any song as long as you kind of understand how to plug in some of these different steps. All right, so we're going to start with oral. So that stands basically for oral hearing and oral saying or echoing. So first thing might be some steady beat. It's our big beat. Engine number 9, going down Chicago line. If the train should jump the track, do I get my money back? Just seated. You could do it walking around the room, but you know, with those young kids, sometimes you just want to do it seated because moving around the room is a more advanced skill. We also have the little beat. So if you're thinking of the big beat as being like quarter notes, the little beat would be those eighth notes. Think of like ta and tt. If you're familiar with orf and kodai syllables, do and do day. If you are doing Gordon syllables. Syllables, whatever kind of syllables you use, doesn't matter. It's really more about the process than the words. So we could do the little beat, and I'll do it moving just to show you what that would look like and to get some exercise in, I guess. Engine number 9, going down Chicago line. I might be playing a drum in the background to help reinforce that beat because sometimes, like Mr. Holland's Opus, you know, where they have to bang on the helmet with the one kid on the bass drum. Yeah, sometimes you have to beat it into their head a little bit before they get it. So repetition, hearing me playing it, etc. So that's just moving to the big and little beat without any words involved. Also, I could have them echo. Here's my little class. Ba 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 ba. Then we would go back to engine number 9. So I go through, I usually have like short little songs like that. I can stop, we can echo a couple things, and jump right back in. What else? I could go to individual students, you know, to use it as an assessment tool, or just for them to hear themselves by themselves instead of being like, oh yeah, we all sound good together. Like when you're singing along with the radio and then you try singing by yourself and you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't all me. So sometimes it's good for kids to hear themselves individually. And I can also have them have a chance to make something different than me. So oral, I would probably start this way. I might have them listen to 2 examples. Ba, 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 ba. Sometimes I even have little puppets that they listen to, and puppet number 2. Ba, 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 ba. Are those same or different? And they can figure out same and different. Then I might say, hey, can you do some patterns that are the same as me? And we would echo. And then we can also try, could you do a pattern that's different than me? Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. You know, a lot of times you're not going to get something that's exactly in the meter and whatnot. You might. I try and sometimes give them a couple examples, like, oh, you could do, if I went ba, 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 you could go ba, 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 ba. Or you could go ba, 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 ba. Probably wouldn't give them that example because that's a little crazy. I'd probably keep it to big and little beats. But I give them a couple examples and basically just say you can do anything except this one. If you say the same thing as that one, that's the only wrong answer. And I think that kind of gets at the oral level, the kind of things that you can do without any words involved. And sometimes you're even like, I like to do stuff with movement where you show long notes, which in music learning theory they call elongations, and divisions would be like 16th notes. So we might do echoing with movement, where I might go ba 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 ba, and the kids enjoy just being kind of crazy. Or I have one thing that I do, the grasshopper and elephant song you might be familiar with. So sometimes it'll be elephants and I might have them go bop, 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 bop. So there's lots of different ways that you can show long and short depending on what the content of the song is and what kind of movement might fit with that. And if there isn't, maybe just throw a scarf in their hand. If you're like, no, this song is, I can't think of any movement that would go with this song. Just grab a scarf and just move. It doesn't have to be, like, oh, this is me being a giraffe or what is this, elephant. You don't have to be cutesy about it. You can just, I don't know, I'm doing engine number 9, right? This isn't an engine, this is just me with a scarf. Ba, 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 ba. That kind of thing. So that can be cool too with the rhythms. It doesn't just have to be standing there and saying it with your mouth. Sometimes it's better to get some of that moving in. Okay, so let's move on to verbal association. It's kind of the same thing that you would do, but now there's going to be words. So, well, I would be doing the song, the kids would be walking around going, or at first probably sitting, practicing do, 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 and they would do that all the way through the song while I go engine, engine, number 9. So 2 parts happening, me doing the chant, them saying do the whole time as they tap it. And then the little beat, do day, do day, do day, do day. And they could probably at this age level, if I'm putting in verbal association, they're pretty good with being able to move around the room. Do, 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 do day, do day. And again, sometimes we'll even switch that. Like I'll play a triangle and they switch from do's to do days and whatnot. Or it's a great way to do form too, A, B, A. During the A section, you're going to move to the big beat and say do. Or ta if you're doing, other syllables. And during the B section, you're going to say the little beat. You're going to say do day or TT or whatever your little beat is. So you can kind of get 2 birds with 1 stone there. Again, you can do echoing for a whole class. Do day do. Do day do, do day do, do day do, or an individual. Do, do, do day do, 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 do day do. And you can also, after they've gotten a lot of chances to hear things with words and echo them and repeat them, then you could also say something without words and they could say it back with words. I am not 500% sure that that is still discrimination learning. That might be inference learning, which is where the kids have to kind of figure things out themselves. I'm kind of thinking it's inference, but it's kind of still in that same realm of using the words. So, for example, I might go ba, 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 and the kids would all say back do, 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 day, do. That's going to really show you that they know those rhythms solid. If they can figure it out without just echoing it from you, figure it out themselves. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it with verbal association. So let's talk about partial synthesis. So partial synthesis is understanding stuff in context. So when I would have been teaching them do's and due days, be like, okay, so our little beat's saying due day, so we're in duple meter. Everybody say duple meter. I'd be telling them those facts over and over. And oh, look, today we're doing a song that's in triple meter because our little beat says doodaddy. Can you say triple meter? Can you say doodaddy goes with triple meter? I have a poster at the front of my room, so there's just a lot of places that they're getting that information, that due day goes with duple, doodaddy goes with triple, groups of 2, groups of 3, etc., etc. So when we get to partial synthesis, that's where they have to kind of take that knowledge and use it. So for example, I might have them move to a song, engine number 9, and we go engine, or I might even do it without the words, just to really get them focused on the rhythm, not the words. Ba, 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 ba. All right, class, were you guys audiating do's or do days in there? And we might even do this. We might, I do the big beat, then I do the little beat. Ba 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 ba. So were you audiating do's or do days during that song? And so hopefully they could be like, oh, I was audiating do days. Okay, so what meter are we in? We're in duple meter. So that shows that they understand the rhythms and what they mean. Okay, duple rhythms. I hear that. I know that means duple meters. Due days equals duple. And that is rhythm through partial synthesis. So let's take a song that is in, let's take a song and do tonal syllables now. All right, let me see if I can think of, right now I'm doing song Starlight. That's not like an amazing example because it just uses so and me. And with music learning theory, there's less of an emphasis on songs that just use so and me and more an emphasis on songs that you can tell the tonality. You can tell if it's major, minor, or Dorian, or Phrygian, or whatever. And with only 2 notes, that's not enough information for you to really know what it is. But Starlight is a pretty well-known song, so we can still kind of grab that. Just remember, that shouldn't be the only kind of songs, theoretically, that you would have in your classroom because the kids won't be able to absorb the way the different scales sound if you don't really have songs that use a scale. All right, so anyhow, Starlight. We're doing oral first. So I might have a ball, which I don't have, so this is going to be my ball. Now, don't use your student as a ball. Pretend this is a ball and not a student and not a stuffed animal. Ball. All right, so bum 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 ba da 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 dum. We set up the tonality even though the song doesn't really have lots of notes. So I'm doing it anyhow. So we have starlight, star bright, resting tone. Whenever I catch the ball, they would sing the resting tone. Technically, music learning theory would be like, no, don't call it the resting tone until verbal association. But I like to have a little bit of a label for it so they know kind of what it is. Especially with pitches, I feel like that is kind of like a abstract concept. So the more that I can make it non-abstract, the better. So just being like, bum, it's this random note. Why am I making you sing it? I think that my kids struggle with that. So I do call it resting tone early. I'm sure you know, sometimes teachers cheat. Yeah, so I'm a cheater in music learning theory. So anyhow, our resting tone, whenever I catch this ball, you will sing the resting tone. Keep that note in your head all the time so you don't forget it. No matter what I sing, you're only going to sing the resting tone. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, All right, I could also have them echo in between. Let's do so many things, even though, like I said, in music learning theory, they don't really focus on that, but I know a lot of other things do, and I'm trying to show you how to put things with music learning theory. So this is kind of like, you know, finding the middle ground between maybe like Kodai style or style versus music learning theory style. So having them echo, bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And again, remember you can do individual turns or whole class turns. And you could also do, can you sing a pattern that's different than me? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And they might give you something weird, and I kind of like try and translate it into the closest like singing thing. So if I were to sing bum, 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 and they sang bum, 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 I might bum, 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 bum. I might try and turn it into something that sounds a little more musical, so they could be like, yeah, that's what I meant. And that helps them kind of calibrate themselves musically for the future. I hope. That's what I hope is happening there. Okay, so that's like some of the main things that you could do with oral when it comes to tonal singing things. Let's talk verbal association. Here's my ball again. I have the most amazing props in this video. All right, so now, man, I wish that I could think of a better song off the top of my head. Oh well, we're sticking with Starlet. How about Old MacDonald, right? That one's got more of like the notes of the scale, and it's also what do you call it, public domain. I just don't want to like take a song and you're like, oh, I just took this song with no one's permission and did it for you. So whenever I catch this, or actually, sorry, you would start off by setting the tonality so they know what they're hearing it in, major, minor, or otherwise. And I would use words now. Do, mi, so, la, so, fa, mi, re, ti, do. And we would talk about how when do is the resting tone, we are in major tonality. Can you say major tonality? And the whole class sings major tonality. Can you say major goes with do? Major goes with do. So they're remembering major, do, that important stuff. All right, so then, do, mi, so, mi, do. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I. Do, and on his farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I, do. And you don't need it to be like right where there's do. You could do Old MacDonald, do, had a do farm, do. And why do we care so much about the resting tone? The idea is if they understand the relationship between different intervals and how they relate to the tonal center, they're going to be able to sing those intervals more in pitch. So that's why the big deal about the resting tone. It also makes a great springboard for talking about some of the chords that we'll talk about later too. So this would also be when we start talking about do, mi, so, that's tonic, and so, fa, re, ti is dominant. But I don't really do that in activities with my class as much. I tend to do that more like in my, my learning sequence activities. So check out my blog post on learning sequence activities. Yes, I should probably put it in activities in my class too, but you know, sometimes it's hard to keep all the balls in the air, so maybe that's a goal for next year, to focus more on those chords in the future. All right, so we talked about singing do as a resting tone. Again, we can do the echoing thing. Now we have words. So maybe I would sing do, mi, so, do, mi, so, fa, re, so, do, so, do. So we're just echoing with words. This is also when I could take out the words and they figure it out. Bum, 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 what's that? Do, mi, so, sing it back to me with the words. That's a little more challenging. That's inference learning versus just that echoing type of discrimination learning. All right, any other main things? Again, remember how like when I set it up, I was like, do, mi, so, la, so, fa, mi, re, ti, do. Do is our resting tone, so we are in major tonality. So just like I talked about with duple and triple, we talk about it a lot. Same thing here. We talk about major and minor a lot, and you know, if I throw in some other tonality, but I generally, when it comes to verbal association, mostly focus on major and minor tonality. I will, in oral, I will do all sorts of different stuff, and the reason why is being able to hear something that is the same versus different. So like realizing what something is by what it's not. Like, oh, major has that like brighter sound, and they might not be able to say, and it has this scale degree that, you know, they might not be able to talk about all that, but they can hear it, you know, they can hear those similarities and differences. So the more rich of examples you're giving, the more that they can understand what something is, because you understand what something is by seeing what it's not, right? Categorizing same and different. All right, moving on. Last step, partial synthesis. So again, this is going to be like if I were to sing a new song. Let's see, how about, here's another one that hopefully you will recognize, but I'm going to sing it without words. Bum, 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 bum. And I would have them, they would be audiating, what's the resting tone, right? Before I do this activity, I would probably ask them, what is the resting tone that you're audiating? Listen while I sing the song. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Hopefully I'm putting pauses in so they can audiate that resting tone in their head. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. All right, so what were you audiating in your head for the resting tone? Was it do or la? And if they can tell me that it's do, then I'll be like, okay, so what tonality would that be? Major. And that is partial synthesis. If I understand it correctly. I have to be honest that the synthesis ones, sometimes I had to have that run by me like 20 times when I was doing the levels. Those ones confuse me more, but at least that's my understanding of what partial synthesis is. Just note to yourself, to you, I probably wouldn't do a song like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for partial synthesis. I would do something unfamiliar to them. I might even make something up. I might be like, okay, audiate what you think the resting tone is in the song. Don't sing it out loud, but think in your head whether you're hearing do or la as the resting tone. And then I might just go like, bum, 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 bum. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. So there you go. I just kind of made that up off the top of my head. Because if they're just hearing a song, you know what they're audiating? They're audiating the words. They're not audiating any resting tones. They're like, I know that song. That's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So, yeah, it's better if it's something that they don't know, because otherwise they're going to be audiating lyrics instead of resting tones. Okay, well, I hope that some of that's helpful. I'm trying to keep it, I sometimes talk too much, so I'm trying to keep it short and sweet so that it's a watchable video. If you have any questions, please comment. You can do it on my Facebook page, on the blog.